Rotimi, what's going on? 4 billion naira worth of trades today.
Well, is expected because at this point in time, there is a high influx of funds coming in from foreign portfolio investors. And they are doing that in order, so that they close the year on that level and be able to be well positioned for the year 2013.
All right, but I think the interesting dynamic I'm seeing here is that the interest is really in those what you can call quality names, the likes of Nestle Nigeria, Nigerian breweries, Guinness Nigeria. Of course, we know this market is dominated by foreign investors. They're also interested in the likes of Guarantee Trust Bank. So clearly, the quality names, as I put them, are where many investors seem to be putting their attention right now. And in that context, which other stocks do you think may follow this rally higher?
Well, looking at it, you realize that the interest is concentrated in two sectors, the consumer goods sectors and the financial services sector. And also there is preference for some of the stocks in those two sectors. Just as you have rightly mentioned, the preference in the consumer goods sector still lies closely with Nestle, Nigerian breweries, Guinness, and maybe a few others. Then also in the financial service sector, there is a high taste and demand for GT Bank, First Bank, and Zenith Bank. And I think that automatically has a drawing effect on the other securities in that same sector. And that is why you are seeing that spillover effect on several other stocks within the sector. Like in the financial service sector, you can see it in Sky, you are seeing it in Diamond, and also in UBA.
So you think those are the companies that would probably start moving going into next week? Because what I'm hearing is that this is really foreign investors front-loading demand as we head towards the holidays.
Yes, it is actually, from what we see now, it is much, and I say much, of foreign portfolio investors' participation. And by the time those ones may be rounding off for the year, maybe probably by the end of this week, then you see the effect of the local investors sustaining that tempo into the new year. So we may not really see much movement after this week, but we will see the tempo being sustained.
But are you surprised? The market is up 32% this year already. Keeping this up, it's perhaps going to be the top performer on the African continent this year. So your thoughts on the performance of the market this year? Is this a big surprise? We know that it really got going in the second half after we saw things like market makers coming to the market and that giving the market a bit of a lift. Your thoughts on the 32% performance we've seen so far this year?
Well, with the way the year started, with the fuel subsidy strike, it sort of made the year gloomy to an extent. But when we started seeing the quarterly results, Q1, Q2, Q3, the old dynamics change. And I think the 32% year-to-date change that we have seen in the market is nothing out of place. And I see it much more than this before the year closes. But the point here is that maybe you mentioning the effect of the market makers. Yes, when it was being announced that the market makers are going to take their position in the market, there was a lot of enthusiasm and some investors took position. But in the real sense, there is not really much impact that the market makers have added to the market.
Well, yes, some people have suggested that securities lending is not working the way it should yet, and so the impact of market makers is somewhat muted at this point. Although I think it's important to also add that QE3 in the US also must have played a part because we did see cheap money coming into this market. Okay, final point for me. In this bull market, the market clearly is on a bull run. It's up for the last 6 trading sessions, and it seems to be gaining momentum. Which stocks should we be buying right now?
Well, sincerely, it still has to be what anyone may have to look at is still in the consumer goods sector and financial services sector. I would still say in the consumer goods sector, one can take a close look at Nigerian breweries. I don't think it has stopped where it has reached. Then also in the financial services sector, we have the host of them like GT Bank, like Access Bank, like First Bank. even Zenith Bank, and I also more closely Diamond Bank and Sky. So those ones are buys that one can actually be sure that yes, indeed, you're going to make some good return.